And welcome to this episode of Alamo City Geek Speak, home for the geeks, where we talk about pulp culture, Star Wars, movies, music, and other random garbage, along with tons and tons of cursing. And here's your host, Justin Chaos.
Of this computer, it shows you guys on your side when we're recording, right?
Yes, in the top left.
Top left, yes.
All right, cool. That's great because right now we are recording. Cool. Hi, everyone. This is Justin with Alamo City Geek Speak. I am joined today by Raul, as per usual, and we have a special guest today. You may have heard of him. He made you do the stank face. We have Katabolic with us. Katabolic, I've known you for about a year, a little over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And, you are a DJ in the San Antonio and Austin scene. Is that correct?
Yes. Focus on EDM.
EDM. So for the people at home who listen to mostly just anime chiptunes, what is EDM?
So EDM, another name for it would be called electronic dance music. It's very broad terms. It's kind of like the easiest way of saying like country music, but there's all like different types of genres of country music and stuff.
Like dubstep and
dubstep,
dance and stuff like that.
Dance, drum and bass, house music. Those are all different categories of that broad spectrum of EDM.
See, I didn't know that. That is actually, I'm learning already. I didn't know that.
So I focus mostly on dubstep, trap, which is kind of like hip hop bass instrumentals, like the easiest way of putting that, like infused with dance music. And another genre called bass house, which is kind of like electro back in the day, just kind of a newer version of it. So those are my three pillars when I do Katabolic.
I know everything about electro from watching Shaun of the Dead. That's
it's electro.
I used to dabble a little bit in dubstep back in the day, and when we first met, we had a couple conversations about that kind of stuff. I would have loved, especially now, considering the fact that we're all stuck at home. And I bet you it's great being able to be on stage in front of people and be out there in like a new place, like every other night. You go to work at 6 a.m, but you usually stay up. You're in shows at midnight.
Yeah.
So
I salute you, sir.
Yeah.
So with this whole thing going on, what are you doing now to kind of to scratch that itch? Because I know you got to be wanting to record something.
Yeah. So lately I've been working on music, working on this next mix that I'm going to put out hopefully by the end of this whole quarantine stuff. But right now my big focus is actually my live stream that I have on Twitch, Katabolic Mix. It's my page. And what I'm looking to do is do a DJ set every Saturday, roughly around midnight Central Time. Just so I can get back in that itch of doing like live sets in front of people.
So have you done any live sets so far?
Yes, I did my test run last week. It did really well, really good exposure for Twitch on my page when I just first started that up. And now we're just working behind the scenes, starting to get more graphics and stuff done. So hopefully this weekend I'll have a little bit more of a professional look towards it, but right now just focusing on the audio portion because that's literally what everyone wants to hear is more of the quality of that audio stuff.
Do me a favor. I don't know how well versed you are in the Twitchosphere, but if you ever get big enough to do a Twitch stream set alongside, say, Ninja when he's playing Fortnite, tell him that he's a fucking prick for me. Can you do that? No, I don't even know. Seriously, best way to get your show to never see the light of day is in front of Ninja. All the kids out there are going to say, no, Ninja is Fortnite. He's been playing a lot of Warzone recently, and every single time I play.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
All he does is bitch about his teammates sucking. He's like, man, I don't know, dude. You kind of ate that L right there, though. So
he's playing with men now. That's why he went from playing with the children in Fortnite.
From building bridges to digging his own grave is what he did. We're gonna put a link to your Twitch in the description here. If you guys get a chance to, make sure you guys check out his Twitch. Go to his Twitch page now and hit subscribe and hit that follow button so that when he goes live, you guys can put on your glow in the dark glasses and put your binkies in your mouth, do some E and like dance around your house by yourself. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I don't know where you're gonna get E right now because of the quarantine, but I'm sure you're gonna find it. Someone's making some bathtub and methamphetamine or something.
Etsy, just hook up Etsy. You can get those great glasses.
That's what I'm saying. Really glad to have you on the show. Every single time we sit down and we talk about fun shit like video games and movies, that's actually the first conversation we had. We talked about video games, and something that we actually had a discussion about before you jumped on the stream here was loot boxes. Now, everybody has an opinion about loot boxes, and everyone's opinion is just a little different. Most of all, we all know that loot boxes are kind of like, you have that uncle who gets money somehow. You never asked how he got money, but you know he's got money, right? That's kind of what loot boxes are, right? Like, right? Because you're like, well, I'm really uneasy in this relationship we have, but sure, I'll buy this. And it's like, sometimes Overwatch, first game I had major experience with loot boxes. They have a piss poor system when it comes down to making sure you don't get duplicates. But the one game to put the entire loot box on blast, like it has been, was Star Wars Battlefront 2. Right? So Battlefront 2 came out with the whole pay to it was actually very close to a pay to win model. It was the more money you pump into this, more upgrade cards you get. I cannot tell you how many times I run into a Yoda who just completely wrecks my shit because he's maxed out. Right? So that's the kind of stuff that buying those things can get you. So I know that we all have maybe different opinions on loot boxes, or maybe have very similar opinions. So let's go ahead and start with our guest first. Katabolic, tell us what you think about loot boxes. What is your perspective on the reasoning behind loot boxes?
So I understood the reasoning at the beginning. So if I remember correctly, loot boxes were a mobile thing when it came to a lot of mobile games first, and then it started to creep its way into the console sphere. Now, with that set in mind, I didn't mind it for like mobile games. A lot of those freemium games that you play, you just play. The developers would have to make money somehow, so they started creating that loot box system to where you can start upgrades to your characters. Where I started to have an issue. Well, before I go there. Just like you, I also played Overwatch. I was really big into Overwatch as well too. I was a diva main. I was like really one of my tanks and stuff.
Really, the only main you should have. Now I know why you love EDM.
It all goes together.
Right.
So yeah, I didn't have any issues with it being cosmetics only. Like, unfortunately, they had that system to where you get a lot of duplicates, but at least it was just cosmetic only. It wasn't having to do with anything of like upgrades or like skills or anything like that. It was pretty much just cosmetic only when it came to loot boxes. So I had no problem with that. When it started to become egregious, I actually remember it in, which Call of Duty was it?
I think was it Black Ops 3?
Black Ops.
It's the one where you had the loot box crate that would like come down into that.
That was World War II. Was it World War II?
Well, Infinite Warfare, where the machine would bring it over and then drop it down in front of you.
Yeah, and it was in the public space, so like everyone would see.
That was World War II. That was World War II. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Okay, and I bought a shitload of those. I was part of the problem. I was part of the problem.
So that was my issue. Is you can start to become really egregious when it became to that point, and
then it's so easy to drop money into it. It really is.
Yeah.
And then it started to go into the sports games. So if I remember correctly, I think FIFA was one of the first ones to do it. And then they started to do it with all the other sports games. And NBA 2K became really egregious with like their upgrade systems and loot boxes and everything too. So I'm not a fan of it. I'm so glad now that developers are starting to become really more aware and self-conscious of how they're implementing it, if they implement it. Because it was getting really, really bad. And I'm kind of glad that Battlefront finally did that 180 to where the game is actually pretty good now, from like new reviews that people have re-reviewed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah. So the game definitely fits somewhere in between, like it's like the old Battlefront and then Battlefield 1, where it kind of has the same kind of the shiny aesthetic. It's super cinematographic. Looks great, but yeah, no, I'm so glad they fixed that game because I was ready to be like, I'm never playing this. Luckily, I found it on sale for like $6 on PSN. And I bought it, played the single player. It looks fantastic. Play the multiplayer. I still get my shit wrecked by Yoda. It's fine. I still play it, though, because that's few and far between. You don't always find those tryhards of that.
Yeah.
Raul.
Yeah.
Grace us with your opinion.
So I was one of those degenerates that just I bought loot boxes like crazy, especially in World War II. I remember that's when it got really bad, where I was just buying shit. And see, the problem is that it's random, right?
Yeah.
So that is something that actually the new Call of Duty has changed. They don't have that random shit anymore. They tell you exactly what you're gonna get in a pack. So now it's kind of like I'm still spending money, but at least I know what I'm. At least I know what I'm getting. At least I know what I'm gonna get.
And the funny thing is sorry to interrupt. But the funny thing is that I forget which company. I think it was EA. They said that they're actually making more money on revenue when it comes to their system now compared to the loot box system. And it's funny, you tell gamers what they get and what they're gonna get when they're dropping money, they'll spend more compared to having loot boxes.
Yeah, and so the problem is that like these games, it wasn't a problem in the mobile games, right? Like you said, because they needed to make money somehow. But you have these AAA titles that you're paying top dollar for, you're paying $60 for, and then on top of that, you're adding more money into it. So like, and a lot of money, and I think it's kind of predatory sometimes, especially with kids. Because who's playing the majority of these games is kids, especially the NBA games, I feel. Even though, and see, the reason they're playing it, though, is because a lot of their idols, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Steph Curry, all of them, I mean, they want to play them as them, and then they're promoting it themselves. So they have, like, those outside influencers that are promoting it. So I think it is predatory, especially when you don't know what you're getting. Kids are probably asking, hey, mommy, daddy, can I borrow your credit card and swipe it for $100 and buy like a top tier pack or whatever? And then they end up getting shit and they're mad.
Yep. It's like the Megalodon pack in fucking GTA. Here's the problem with that shit is they never tell you that when you take money out. If you're a kid and you're playing GTA, you don't understand that the money you're carrying on your character, that's fair game when you die, right? So like that's a problem.
Yeah,
kids don't understand it.
But I think it's. Oh, go ahead.
It's just that's a thing about kids anyway.
Yeah, kids are stupid.
Wow.
Well, at the end of the day,
we never talk about Minecraft or Fortnite, so there's really no kids in this.
Yeah. No, but that's my final opinion. I think it is predatory. I think Call of Duty, the new one, did a better job of staying away from that. I understand why some companies do it. I get it. I just feel like it's very deceptive at times, especially with Battlefront 2. And when it's pay to win almost, it just sucks the fun out of the game for everybody else. That's why I'll be honest. I never bought Battlefront 2. I bought Battlefront 1. I thought it was shit. It ruined my childhood memories that I had of that game because I used to love Battlefront 2. That was my shit, and then it ruined it. Ruined it. But and I never played Battlefront 2. I played it once. I think that was it.
The whole thing about DLC, right? DLC is downloadable content. It allows you to extend either the image of your game or the actual content of your game to make it unique. Now, on these games that are only online multiplayer or focused mostly, like Call of Duty is one, NBA 2K. Granted, there is a lot of online play. It's also about just making your perfect team. Overwatch is. And I'll tell you why I think Overwatch is actually the exclusion to this whole thing in 1 second. But all these games, they focus on giving you cosmetics, but also weapons. They give you weapons, they give you upgrade points. That part of it, I think, takes it too far. If it's just buying skins, like in World War II, you can buy like the new division skins and stuff. So like you can be like the mountain division, but have like the really cool like sniper skin and stuff. That's cool. But when you're playing the mountain division and there's only a certain loadout type of weapon that you can get from a loot box, or there's just like in the original in Modern Warfare we released. That's why they took so long to release the store, because they had to let people have enough time to level up these guns. Because when they release these packs, they give you a gun the way the developer says this is the optimal way to play with this gun at this particular range or this way of playing it. So that's why these guns, if you get the blueprint for it and you use it as it is, a lot of times if you use it the way the developer wants you to use it, it's going to stomp some kids. It's going to stomp people. I'm going to stop saying kids because kids aren't the ones who play video games, but it's going to stomp some fools in the game. So yeah, there is a bit of when you get to loot boxes though, there's that whole unknown part of it. You don't know what you're going to get. You do feel cheated when you get the same thing over and over again, especially when it comes down to equipment and it comes down to upgrade points. That's the whole thing with with Battlefront 2 that was a problem is that they were all upgrade cards, and that was the only way to upgrade it is to get those cards multiple times. But you just keep buying the boxes. Finally, you have a decked out Darth Vader. No one else wants to spend $80 in the game, aside from the $60 they spent, and now you're walking around like force choking a bitch.
Mhm.
Now with Overwatch, the reason I think Overwatch is the difference, and this is, I get it, this is going to be a very moot argument, and that's fine. But when it comes down to Overwatch, the one thing that they did different is there's nothing in those cases that's going to affect the game in any capacity.
Yep.
It is legitimately just like, for me, it was all about a collector standpoint. Now, it is still a gamble, but you can also choose to save up coins to buy the skins you want. But the only reason you do the loot boxes is because it's like, hey, I might get the chance to spend $10 on 5 cases. I forgot exactly what the going rate is. I think it's like 5 or 12 or 10 cases, whatever. On these cases, and I can get 3 legendaries if I'm lucky. Dude, I bought Overwatch when it first came out. I bought it for $60, right? And then I go and I think I probably spent easily about $400 on skins in that game. And a lot of them, I don't even get. I haven't played the game forever. I think about it. Shit, $400. I just bought like. Yeah, no, I'm like, oh man, I remember during the Christmas event of 2018, I think it was. I was actually streaming a lot during this time, and I was streaming so much because I was trying to get the fucking I was trying to get the skin for Junkrat. It was there's Santa Claus, and who's the other guy? The bad guy. The Krampus.
Krampus, yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to get the Krampus skin for him, and it took me forever. And I grinded. And the only reason I was able to get the goddamn skin is because I bought enough loot boxes to get enough points from already owned content till it finally I was able to buy the skin. So I was like, dude, I spent like $70 in this skin. Like, granted, I got a couple of the other holiday skins, but either way, I get the point of it being predatory, but at some point it also does fall down on the kids. It also falls on the parents, which is why I think it's important to a point. They are putting it on the ESRB rating system now, so it does show loot boxes. I think that really, when it comes to it's an online interaction, really at its base point. So just like what they said before, online interactions are not you're not able to necessarily grade it. So I think when they put those loot boxes in there, they're really going to end up shooting the foot of the developers, because now parents are going to know, oh, okay, they have loot boxes. Don't let me see PlayStation Plus or PlayStation pop up with my credit card statement ever again, because I will tan the hell out of your hide. But yeah, loot boxes, shit be crazy, right? You know what else is crazy though? We just got our show back together, right? We were doing our Sounds Like Kayfabe podcast for a while, and we're talking about wrestling and stuff, and we never got an opportunity to talk about one of the movies that has caused such a rift in the Star Wars community.
Oof, I already know it's gonna happen.
Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. Now, you have people on. See, there you go. You have people on one side of the lane saying that movie was terrible.
And it's funny that you're actually left of me. So when you did
yeah, and then you have people on the other side of the lane who said, you know what, it really wasn't bad. I've met a few people who said it was a great movie, and I feel like you have different tiers of people who aren't super deep into Star Wars, who went to go see it as a standalone movie. Of course, they're gonna love it. It's a fantastic movie by itself. If you don't have any of the previous movie experience, now if you are I would consider myself a fairly diehard Star Wars fan, right? Hardcore enough. I have a tattoo on my leg about Boba Fett. Granted, he's also the Deadpool of the Star Wars series, but the fact of the matter is, like, I've been a Star Wars fan for the longest time.
No, but you know the lore and everything. Like, I consider myself. I wouldn't say I'm a hardcore fan, but you know more about lore and stuff than I ever would, and I totally yeah. So
well, and that's the point. I think that at that point you kind of, and I'm going to attack you now. I'm sorry. At that point, you have people who are going to talk bad against the movie, because I feel like they're talking bad against the movie because it's a popular thing to do.
That's not.
No, let me finish it. No, because at one point someone watched this movie who watched the movie before you did. came out, and I watched you at work look up reviews of Star Wars after you watched it, and I'd see you nod your head going, yep, and
Yeah,
you
because,
nope,
because it made
because
sense.
like when they say something that you liked, you're like,
No.
absolutely, I totally agree with this.
So I have people
you're
to-
looking down the fucking echo
No.
chamber, and you're looking for someone to
No.
say this movie was shit. So you'd be like,
No.
yes, I'm not the only
No.
one who thought so.
No, because I did not look at any reviews before I saw that movie.
You
And
saw it after.
immediately-
I said after the movie.
And immediately after I got out of the movie, I was still in my chair, and you can ask Nathan. Oh no, Nathan wasn't there. You can ask Jesus when he comes on the show next week. You can ask Jesus, and we all looked at each other and said that movie was shit. And it was 3 of us that went to go see the movie.
I cannot believe with any ounce of certainty that
all
you
said it was
guys
shit.
all said the movie was shit for the same reasons.
Yeah, it was all the
No,
same
no,
reasons.
no.
Because we went to Whataburger after, because that's what you do. The movie we
So-
got out like at 11:30, I think.
So you guys sat down and talked about the movie together, and
At
then you guys
Whataburger,
resonated
and-
with the same
and we-
answers
and
because
yeah.
that's all that mattered. Okay,
and
fine.
we
you're right.
realized the movie was trash.
Okay, so real quick, Katabolic, do me a favor. Tell us,
Uh-huh.
man, why this movie wasn't that terrible.
It wasn't a terrible movie. I'll give it that right now. It wasn't a great movie, but for what it tried to do, to try to put together so many storylines, so many things from the prequels to this series, I felt that it did a decent or pretty good job at what it had to do and what it was left on its plate. To say it was a horrible movie is a stretch. That is a complete stretch.
Yeah, I can't agree with that. And again, it comes down to the fact that
Drink that water, Raul. Drink it.
fucking thirsty. No, like the movie was
fire. That's why.
the movie by itself. Am I gonna sit here and tell anybody, dude, the movie's great, go watch it, it's a fantastic movie? I'm not. But when you also
You care
consider
about him,
the
you
fact-
shouldn't.
when you consider the fact of the quality of movies we've gotten over the past 4 or 5 years, 10 years even, I gotta tell you, man, it wasn't that bad. I've seen Attack of the Clones, and I'd rather seriously rake my own eyes with a fork than watch
Yep.
Attack of the Clones.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
right around there. I think this whole prequel trilogy, or not sequel trilogy, was just doomed. I feel from the start. The best one was Force Awakens, in my opinion, and even then, that wasn't a great movie, but still, it went all down. Last Jedi was a mess. I don't know what even that was. And then Rise of Skywalker just didn't redeem it for me. It didn't feel like an ending. It didn't. And then that whole line at the end, Ray, what's your last name or whatever? Skywalker. Get the fuck out of here! You ain't no Skywalker. Get out of here.
Do me a favor.
No.
No, do me a favor. Tell me something. What was your favorite movie out of these two? If you had to pick between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, what's your favorite movie?
Empire Strikes Back.
So how is it the fuck that you come up with the decision to say the fucking Rise of Skywalker is that terrible movie when you have good enough taste to tell me that Empire Strikes Back is
my favorite movie in the series, or my second favorite movie, is Revenge of the Sith.
So I got one thing out here real quick, right?
Yeah.
I can't be too much of a negative Nelly with that, because when I sat down and watched Revenge of the Sith, I gotta tell you,
Yeah.
the last lightsaber fight was fucking epic.
Mhm.
The
Yeah,
movie,
that alone.
the movie had some. The movie really wasn't that bad, because it actually, watching it now as an adult and actually understanding a lot of things after watching the later movies, I was like, you know what? I feel for him, because you see this tricky road that Palpatine put before him and changed him in front of everybody, and no one fucking knew it. So I will agree that the movie was good in that respect, right? But I will never, ever, I can't get behind it being number 2. There's zero chance. And Rise of Skywalker really was not that bad. I will say the few things that let me down on Rise of Skywalker, first of all, the Knights of Ren,
Yep.
they got
that was
screen time and never got a fight.
I feel like that was fan service, because everyone was complaining that they didn't have any screen time, and they're like, "Oh, let's put them in there for this amount of time."
I will
and then
agree
they get
with
their
that.
shit.
I would
over.
agree with that.
They look like they sit straight up beat up grandmas for their fucking change in their purse. They look like bad guys. And then when they show up and he's like, I gotta kill you guys now. Okay, boom, and it kills everybody. It's like,
Yeah.
that's not even close to being fair. And then I won't disagree with the fact that all of a sudden, throughout the entire series, everyone's trying to figure out, who is Rey? Is Rey a Kenobi? That would make so much sense. No, Rey can't be a Kenobi. She's a Skywalker. No, she can't be a Kenobi because of this. And then later on to find she's a fucking Palpatine. it really feels like they just put a whole bunch of names in a hat and drew a name and said, the fucking Palpatine. Makes sense. It's fucking Palpatine. Also, can we also not ignore the fact that, dude, Palpatine, did he will her into existence? Or did he make her the old-fashioned way? Because that's gross as shit.
Well, actually, he would have made... No, that was her grandfather. So he would have made... Oh, yeah, so he fucked... Wait.
Yeah,
Right?
that was
Yeah,
the granddaughter.
So he fucked someone... Man, when did he have time to fuck? I don't
mean,
understand
he,
that.
he was a senator and then chancellor. I'm pretty sure he can find time to do whatever he wants.
He done a lot of ass.
Oh, straight up. I mean, that's the. I guess it makes sense. I just don't like the idea of that at all. Not one bit. Fucking. I can just imagine. This is the worst part. I can just imagine him rolling over on the side of the bed, still wrapped in the sheets, going, "Execute Order 66."
He's like,
she's like,
do it.
She's like, "Who is that?" He's like, "Oh, it's nobody." What's that?
That's a horrible thing to. I don't even want to.
No, you don't want to think about it at all. It's the grossest thing I've ever thought of, and I don't know why I said it. Like, it's immortalized now on the internet.
It's like also like now that I'm thinking about it, like that force scream he does when he in Revenge of the Sith. When he like flies towards the Jedi, now I'm imagining that's the sound he makes.
Dude, that's so gross. Like the fact that
it's nasty. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it at all.
And he was using with his lightsaber. He was using just the tip too.
Absolute power.
So
just imagine like bolts of lightning from the tip of his gun.
So it's treason then.
He felt that little sparkle. Oh god.
Anyway, let's get away from this fucking topic.
Yeah,
Seriously,
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
I can't deal with this anymore. Fucking Palpatine sex jokes. I don't get it. So something else that's been popping up recently, and it hasn't been like all of a sudden, but it's been creeping up there, and I think a lot of people kind of get the same kind of reaction when they hear the term remakes, remasters, reboots, ports, whatever you want to call it. And there are distinct differences between all of them. But when someone says, "Oh, they don't have any original ideas anymore," I feel like that's kind of just a hipster way of saying I'm not okay with them bringing this old stuff back to the new world. Mm-hmm. So, first of all, I think something that really does stand out in this particular argument that should not be even considered are going to be sequels. And sequels being like Dumb and Dumberer do not count because that's a sequel. They're trying to reignite the franchise, but that's not reinventing the characters at all. Yeah, necessarily. Granted, they are over almost at that point they were almost over 20 years old. Mm-hmm. When they remade that movie. So, yes.
Like Bad Boys 3 was another one, too, that just came out. But I think that was just, they had been trying to do that forever.
They just couldn't get around to it.
Which was a great movie, I liked Bad Boys 3.
Yeah, when you watch the movie, they did a really good job of keeping justice to the original stories. They maintained those storylines. And it was a fun show. The fact when Reggie showed up in that show, straight up.
Oh, dude, they got the same actor.
Yeah,
too, and I was like, that is awesome.
Me and my wife were just like, we're trying not to laugh and scream in the fucking theater, going, "Oh my God, Reggie!" And he was still super quiet and shit. It was like, man, he's the same Reggie. But so the big differences here is when you have movies where they completely revamp the movie, right? So let's go through the definitions here, and I have the definitions pulled up here. What is the difference between a reboot, a remake, a remaster, and a port? Now, some of these are going to be specific to video games only, but a reboot is the series itself is fundamentally changed within a new game or movie. Story or style is completely redone. So we're going to see reboots specifically for games. Ninja Gaiden going from the original Genesis and NES to the Xbox was a complete reboot.
Yep.
When they did also Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry went through a massive reboot with the DMC series. Didn't really work well, but they went through a big reboot for that. Mm-hmm. Movies, I find it hard necessarily to find any real reboots of movies.
I could say a few. I mean,
think about
stuff like Spider-Man.
Spider-Man,
of course, yeah. Those have been
also like the new. I guess they're new. The new like monster movie, like Godzilla. I feel like those aren't those technically reboots
Yeah.
like King
Technically,
Kong.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess because they don't use the same kind of Godzilla model. So I would.
I was just flipping through the channel the other day, and Halloween came on, the one that Rob
That-
Zombie did. Is that a reboot as well too?
That's technically a reboot. Yeah, that was that technically a reboot?
Of Halloween?
The Rob Zombie ones?
the Rob Zombie one.
Because I know the new ones are because they're technically rewriting the story.
Yeah.
The new one that just came out in 2018, that's a reboot because they took out
They completely
everything after
redid the character. Yeah.
everything after the first movie never happened. For the new movies. So they just took the first movie and then they had a huge time jump of like 40 years. And they were like, that never happened. He's been in the psych ward the whole time. So yeah. I think that would be considered a reboot. And the Rob Zombie ones, I would consider those more a remake. Because they're keeping the main, I guess, aspects of his life the same.
Well,
Yeah.
yes and no.
I think
there's a few differences there. I would say another one that would be good since we're in the horror genre would be Jason. Jason was another one.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th was the remake with Padalecki, whatever his name is. Gary Padalecki, that's not his name at all. He's from Supernatural. I did not dig that at all. The fact that Jason ran that movie, I was not okay. But anyway, so going towards remakes. The new game usually shares a similar name and follows the same story as a previous game in the series, but with changes in content, usually new features to make the game more replayable or longer. Two things popped in my mind recently: Final Fantasy VII and Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
Awesome games.
So I cannot say enough about Resident Evil 2. And I actually just got Final Fantasy VII. I haven't even had a chance to play it yet, so I'll be playing it tomorrow, like for sure. What you've played it already, right, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm about a little over halfway through it now. I don't want to say the chapter numbers without spoiling stuff, but yeah, I'm pretty good sized through the game right now.
Yeah, dude, I played the demo for it. That game looks amazing. It looks so slick.
And it hits like every nostalgia feelings that, like, if you played the original, either way from like PlayStation or the PC port of it, it literally hits every single note of nostalgia as you're playing the game.
That's why I'm actually the most excited about it, because I have not played the original. So this is my chance to sit down and play. Wow. Yeah. So that's gonna be something else. Resident Evil 2, however, I played through the remake and I played through the original. The remake changes everything that needed to be changed. The tank controls are gone, right? So that's a lot of fun. It's a fundamental change that we're talking about here. Resident Evil 3 was the same thing. They also tacked on that shitty multiplayer, but that's fine.
Yeah. Resident Evil 3 was not as good as Resident Evil 2, but it was still a good game.
It's good for a speedrun, you know.
Yeah.
I think another good example, though, there's the remasters. Going into that, because we can actually talk about a game from that same series. A new game has the same name with remasters, something similar afterwards. Content, gameplay, and story is identical or nearly identical. Only presentation and graphics are changed. Resident Evil 1. It was a reboot to a point, or a remake to a point, because the game looks completely different. But it really comes down to being a remaster, because the graphics look completely overhauled, and they added a few new mechanical changes to the game, like when you set the zombies on fire and stuff. But other than that, the game reacted the exact same way. But we are also talking about Assassin's Creed has remastered Assassin's Creed 2, 3. No, I don't think they did 2. I think they did Brotherhood. But they've remastered like every single Assassin's Creed game like in the past year. So obviously Ubisoft has a whole lot of time in their hands. They made Ghost Recon Breakpoint, so obviously they had plenty of time after they fucked that one up. So remasters. The one of the games that pops up on that is Dark Souls. Have you guys ever played the original Dark Souls versus the remaster?
I literally played that for like 20 minutes.
Same, dude. I
got brutally abused by that game, so I just couldn't do it.
Can you imagine me like as a little kid when I got it, and I wasn't little, but I mean I was already, I don't know how old I was when I first got my PS3, and I got it and I sat down to play it because it looked so fucking cool, right? Played it, got my ass whooped for like you said 20 minutes, put my controller down, ejected it, said nope.
It was like, and the funny thing was like I was pretty decent at like hard games, like At the time, I think Devil May Cry. I was pretty good at that.
Yeah.
Played Ninja Gaiden for a bit, and I like that one too. But I just could not get into Demon Souls or Dark Souls.
I feel like the Devil May Cry set the false expectations that, hey, there's a game with the big sword. I should be able to play any game with the big sword and be good at it. Because I remember playing the original Devil May Cry, saying this game is awesome. It's easy, not easy but good. Devil May Cry 2 was less good, and Devil May Cry 3, it was actually better than 2, but I still like talking about it because I think the first one was better. Anyway, so going from those games to a game like Dark Souls was a very big jump. And not to derail too much from the conversation, right? But I remember my first time playing Dark Souls, I did the same thing, but I actually gave myself just a little extra room. I played for about an hour, and I didn't really leave the same fucking starting area. Right? I ran downstairs, I got killed by a ghost. I ran down the steps, I got killed by skeletons. And here's the part that like just told me this game just really straight up just fucking hates you. I kept playing, and what I would do is I'd kill a skeleton, pick up an item, and die. Kill a skeleton, pick up an item, and die. So I kept having all these items. Like, cool, I'm eventually getting there. And I found out that if you carry no shield and use this two-handed mace to do a power attack, every time you hit a skeleton, they break to pieces. And if you hit in the right area, you'll knock two skeletons off the side. You won't hit them, but they'll fall down and break to pieces. They'll come back to life, and I found that one the hard way. But if you can do that, you can eventually run past everything. And I could never get it just right. So what I found out, again, is you can take a little bit of fall damage and be okay. Right? So I ran down the stairs, knocked down 3 of them, jumped down under their bones, took some fall damage, and kept running. I'm like, yes, I'm going to make it. And I fucking shit you not, from what I remember, and I could be wrong, and if someone is going to say I'm wrong, that's fine. Put it in the comments. Tell me what it is. As soon as you, and this is Dark Souls 2, I think, as soon as you get down those stairs, and I jumped down the side, took a little bit of fall damage, said, I'm free, I can finally play the game, a giant fucking skeleton clubs me. As you say, you went past all of these.
Nope.
Those skeletons going to kill you. So, yeah, those games, fuck Dark Souls. I played the third one enough to tell you that the game is just evil.
Yeah, I don't mind hard games, but that's just, that's just.
Yeah, so I like hard games. I play a lot of I played Bloodborne, Lords of the Fallen. Games like that. I love those games because they're challenging, they're fun, it's interesting to play, but yeah, no, they're hard as shit.
Yeah, even Bloodborne, I couldn't even get past that first boss, and I was like, nah, these games are just not for me.
Yeah,
because Bloodborne was a little bit more actiony compared to like Dark Souls, but yeah, I just couldn't do it. I was not having fun. I'm like, I'm not going to continue with this.
You know, it wasn't until I embraced the fact that Bloodborne was all about action. So I was at work one day. I was working at Best Buy, and some Bloodborne came out. I was bitching to my friend going, man, Bloodborne's too fucking hard. I don't know why I paid $60 for it. He's like, are you playing it like Dark Souls? And I said, yeah. He's like, that's your problem. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, because you need to be more aggressive versus more passive. And I was like, oh, so as soon I went home and said, is that how you do it? And I started wrecking the game. And then I forgot where I was, and then I went back to play it some other time, and I got killed. And this is also in the same time the cloud saves went into play. So I downloaded my cloud save recently with my PlayStation Plus version. Yeah, no, I'm completely lost. I'm not gonna start the game over. I can kiss my ass. And I'm waiting for the second one to come out because it gotta come out the second one. Now, the last subject of these would be a port. A port is the exact same game of the same name on a different console. So a good example would be Doom, Wolfenstein 2, Skyrim, all those games going to the Switch. That's a port, right? Mm-hmm. So we're talking about all these to talk about, and I think we just kind of touched on all the points I want to touch on our little jaunt through the different titles. But what do you guys think about, like, what do you guys look for in, say, like a reboot or a remake, a remaster report? Which is one you think that you like the most? Do you prefer them to remake a game completely or even reboot it and start something brand new, fresh?
I mean, at least for me, I would say it has to be, I guess, what the intent of what they're trying to do. So, like, one of my favorite games of all time is The Last of Us. I played it on the original PlayStation 3.
Sad days it got delayed, the second one.
Yeah, unfortunately. But I played it on the original PlayStation 3, and then the PS4 came out, and what Sony did was a genius idea, was to remaster it and put it out for the PS4 for all the Xbox and other players that started to migrate it over to the PS4 and play The Last of Us for their first time. So stuff like that. Like that was a smart move and made millions for them just for the fact that they put like one of the best games from PS3 back onto the PS4. Now for a remake, Final Fantasy VII remake right now is hitting every single note. They're remixing the songs. They overdid the battle system, made that more modern. You can still do like a kind of the classic turn-based style if you want to, that's mixed into it. And then they're actually adding more to the story because of the way that they made the first game compared to this one. So this one, if anyone doesn't know, it's all based off the very first city in the game.
Midgard, right?
Midgard, yeah. And in the original game, Midgard was probably about 10-15% of the whole story. And they're turning this into a whole game.
40 hours, I think is what I read.
I would say I'm probably 25, 26 hours into it right now, and I feel like I'm about halfway through.
Yeah, it's a massive game, and it's impressive what they did with it. You're right.
Yeah. So what they're doing, and what I really like, is they're adding a lot more story beats to it and world building when it comes to like a lot of the characters behind it too. So like some of the characters that literally were kind of like thrown away characters actually have like a full backstory that you're invested in. So when they do stuff like that, that's awesome. And then you have like Ubisoft that just makes ports after ports after ports, and you can definitely tell they're just literally doing it for that bottom line, bare bones stuff. So like I said, it really just depends. Like if they're doing it with the intent and passion behind it to add more stuff and more content, then I'm all for it.
Well, Raul, I want to hear your moot point.
Thanks, bud. So I think like a remake. So we classified Resident Evil 2 and 3 as a remake, I guess, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I would say that's helpful. I enjoyed those because I never got a chance to really play the originals. I think when I did, I was super young, so I don't remember any of that. So having a remake,
your parents probably didn't let you play it. They didn't want me playing it either.
Yeah. So like being able to play it now, like it's really cool, and I'm able to like experience that like others did. Now a reboot, I feel like a reboot gives us it allows more creative freedom, I guess, with a reboot. I guess. So a remake, you have to stay true to like the original vision of something, right? So it gives, like I said, me a chance to experience something that maybe y'all guys got to experience that I never got to. And a reboot is just taking that in a whole nother direction. So I guess a reboot, I don't really have many expectations of reboot as long as they keep some semblance of what the original was. Because you have to have that, because then if it's not really a reboot, then it's just a whole new thing.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Well, I think that's the same thing of like when we look at movies. It's the same kind of idea. These developers, these people who made this movie, they went and made this movie, or this game in the 80s and the 90s. And then later on, we get the technology to give them the movie to be able to achieve their vision. So case in point, a movie that could have easily been a remake or a reboot later on the road was James Cameron's Avatar. When he went to go make the movie, this was still in the 90s, I believe, right? And he was like, man, there's got to be something better than this. He had the script written, and they had run test parts, and he was trying to make the movie his vision. And then he just kept delaying it. He kept delaying it, saying, no, this isn't what I want. And then finally, the technology came out for him to be able to do what he wanted, and he made the movie the exact way he wanted to see it. I feel like I've made this example before, but things like that is exactly like a chef, right? I can give you a burger at any time, but the chef wants you to experience the burger the way he wants you to. So that he's going to throw in some lamb to the meat. He's going to do all these different things, and he's going to give you the burger the way he wants you to eat it. And he doesn't care if you don't like horseradish sauce, but he's like, hey, this goes really good with this, so try it. Same thing with movies and video games. They made this movie back in the day, this game back in the day, and now like Metal Gear Solid is one of the best remakes or reboots of any series. Granted, one could argue there's still a lot of things that connected to, because they do reference the original story of the original Metal Gear in Metal Gear Solid, but that's more of like an homage to that original time when Hideo Kojima had to make do with what he had.
Yeah.
So games that are given the opportunity to breathe new life into a new generation of people who can appreciate it. Whereas, a lot of people in my generation, and Kevin, I think you're in the same age group as I am. We look at we see this stuff with nostalgia glasses on, and it's really hard for some of us to get past the fact that, oh, this was my favorite TV show when I was a kid. If they went and remade a TV show or a movie about Street Sharks, no one gives a fuck about Street Sharks, but guaranteed someone will say, no, this is a show from my childhood, this is wrong. And I understand Michael Bay fucked up Ninja Turtles, right? I get that part. So we're a little hesitant to trust anyone rebooting our favorite animal turned into team crime fighting heroes. But sometimes you just gotta let the ball roll and see what happens.
Well, I think that's important you bring that up, because you brought up it earlier that a lot of people were like, well, we're just running out of ideas. I don't think that's necessarily it. I think it's just, like you said right now, it's a chance to, breathe new life into it. And with remaster and remakes, you're able to take maybe, especially with video games, you're able to take technology that wasn't there in the past and to make it look fucking awesome. You know what I mean? So, I mean, and case in point with the Resident Evil games, even the new Call of Duty remasters that came out now, I mean, they look nicer. I mean,
well, to be completely fair, the remasters of Call of Duty, they were always on the cutting edge of looking great.
Yeah.
So I mean, the fact that they did a remaster and make it look even better is a plus.
Yeah.
And what was the game you mentioned before? Resident Evil. Sorry. The original. Have you ever seen the original Resident Evil? The way it looked.
Yeah. No,
that game looked like a truckload of ass, dude. It looked not very good at all. But then they remade it and now the Crimson Heads. I remember when I went and played the reboot, or the remaster, whatever you want to call it. I went and played it, and I killed a zombie. I'm like, yeah, that settles that, doesn't it? And I go through a door and I go do some other shit. I come back and it's a Crimson Head now. I was like, the fuck is that? It moves faster. It just killed me. What's going on? And then I found out you got to burn bodies. So I missed that part in the fucking the tutorial. But it gives you a chance to play a new game the way that you want to play it. So I think we can all agree that that's something that's invaluable. It makes it just better. So remasters, reboots, remakes, ports, get the fuck out of here, no one cares. But reboots, remakes, and remasters, they're all unique. I think they make the world go round. They also give you the opportunity to connect with people outside of your generation. So that's a plus. So let's move on to our last topic of the evening. This may turn into a lengthy topic. It may be pretty quick. We'll see. It is Phase 4, Marvel Phase 4 specifically. So we know that Phase 3 wrapped up rather nicely, and we know that the beginning of Phase 4, because Phase 3 ended with Far From Home, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Far From Home that ended Phase 3. Black Widow is beginning Phase 4, which I am beyond excited for Black Widow.
I am too. I really am. I'll be honest. I don't know what it was that music in the trailer. I don't know why that stuck with me. I really like that music. I don't know what it was. It was. I don't know if you remember it. There was music in the trailer that I don't know. I vibed with really hard, and I was like, you know what? I like this. I'm interested in Black Widow anyway. But there was something
I think they were all interested in Black Widow.
Oh yeah.
No, but the movie, dude. It's first of all, it's a long time coming, right?
Yeah.
People have been asking
it for a while.
Straight up. That's exactly. People have been asking for a Black Widow movie for the longest time, and now that she's dead, they give her one. I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense, but at the same time,
is she dead though?
She's dead. She's dead.
Bro, get over it. She's dead. Yeah.
She's dead.
Even Nighthawk's like, don't do that. Don't give me hope.
She's dead.
So
sorry to break the news for you on that one.
We have this is also depending. I'm wondering how much the current pandemic thing is going to affect releases of these movies, because it's affected James Bond and
I was fucking hyped for that movie and they just fucked me over with that.
Honestly, I've never been more excited for a James Bond movie. Now that they moved it back. Plus, Rami Malek looks amazing in the movie.
Oh yeah. If y'all haven't seen Mr. Robot, by the way, I don't know if y'all haven't seen Mr. Robot. Highly recommend that show.
It's on Hulu.
It's only 4 seasons. 4 seasons, yeah.
It also has Christian Slater in it, man.
Oh yeah,
it's been in the movie forever.
Definitely recommend that show. I think y'all would like it.
So Black Widow's was it May 1st, 2020 is when it's slated?
No, it was.
No, it was. Then that got pushed back. So
September.
You have the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be in August, I believe, and then Black Widow, the movie, should be in November.
Okay, so that got pushed back to later this year then.
Yeah, so everything basically, if you looked at that original map, everything got pushed back like just I think one slot over.
basically. Yeah.
Man, that makes me really sad too because the Eternals.
Yep. That should be February now, I believe.
That is upsetting. Now I am excited to see the Falcon and Winter Soldier because obviously this is going to be picking up right after where, and if you haven't seen it, seriously, it's been forever. The night is dark and full of terrors and spoilers. So when Captain America gave the Falcon his shield and said like, "Here, go fucking be Captain America," I'm wondering how much that's going to play into the story. Right? You see Captain America's shield there. So are him and Bucky going to have this whole thing like, well, technically in the comic book story, Bucky Rogers should have been the first Captain America, but then the Falcon gets it after that. It's like, it doesn't really matter when it happens. It fucking happened. All right. But yeah, so are they going to have this whole thing like they both look at the shield in the middle of the table and play Rochambeau for it? Or are they going to make some kind of crime fighting team, which honestly with the name, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier really could be both. It doesn't really say they're going to be on a team, but I imagine they are, right?
I'm leaning towards the latter. I'm hoping it's a crime fighter team.
It seems like it seems like it'll be a crime fighting team. The Eternals, of course, that's focusing on the Eternals. I don't know a whole lot about the Eternals, but I believe those they're cosmic, aren't they?
Yes. Yes.
So we're starting to get a very rough shove into cosmic grounds.
Yes. So we started to get that in Guardians of the Galaxy with the Volume 2 with what's his name? His dad being like the whole cosmic god.
Oh, Idro?
Yeah.
Is it Idro? Yeah.
So that was kind of like the little taste of it, and then now we're going like full blown the Eternals being like cosmic stuff.
So the one thing about I don't know a whole lot about him, but I know that they did confirm someone who I am a huge fan of as far as his acting goes is Kumail Nanjiani. So he's going to be in the show or in the movie, so I'm really excited about that. Then we have Shang-Chi.
Yes. And the Ten Rings. So they're going to finally introduce the Mandarin. It looks like the real Mandarin.
Not the Ben Kingsley like I am the Mandarin.
That was terrible.
That was weird.
That was terrible. Like, yeah, that was just terrible. They did a bad job when they have to like basically apologize and say go ahead.
No, I was just saying like you're right. It's yes. Go ahead. I had a thought. I dropped it.
So it's funny when I first saw that movie. I didn't know about like the real Mandarin, right? Because I was still younger at the time. So when I saw it, I was like, I don't see why everybody's making a big deal. But then I read more about it and started getting really invested in the story. And I was like, oh, I can see how that would totally be a letdown. Like that really sucks.
I remember the first time I ever heard about the Mandarin was on the Iron Man comic book. It was in an Iron Man comic book. But then I watched what got me to actually read it on the Marvel Unlimited app is Robot Chicken. Robot Chicken got me to actually want to care who the Mandarin was because you heard Iron Man in the fucking vents crawling around. He's like, oh God, he's in the vents now. And it is stupid, but it made me care about who he was. So I know that Mandarin was a huge deal to Isn't
Iron that Man. Like his main? It's his main villain, isn't it? In the comic?
That was to what I'm able to understand. So Iron Man had a lot of villains. But the one person who I think stood out for them was either like somebody like the Mandarin.
Yeah, because the Mandarin's referenced throughout the whole series too. Like even in the very first Iron Man, my
mind keeps going to MODOK, but I think MODOK's more Spider-Man. But Mandarin was a huge enemy for Iron Man. And when I went back to watch, I totally missed how people were so upset about it. And when I went back to watch Iron Man 3, I was like, oh man, they really fucked up with that, dude. Now that I get it, like now I understand why people left the theater saying I want my money back. No, I don't know if anyone actually asked for that, but I wouldn't blame them if they did, because Ben Kingsley, no matter how great he can be in movies, this one's like, dude, they really just sold him down the river. They said, hey man, we want to use your name, and that's really it. We want to use your name and make people think you're gonna be cool, and then later on you just turn out to be a drunk who wants fucking beer money. So yeah, that was a little upsetting to say the least. WandaVision is going to show up on the Disney Plus channel.
I'm really interested to see.
I'm very intrigued with this one.
Yeah,
It's almost playing like a sitcom.
Yeah,
which is
like a '60s sitcom.
yeah,
So it's gonna be interesting. Like
So-
I'm getting like a I Love Lucy type vibe to this thing.
yeah.
I haven't seen a whole lot about it, so I really couldn't comment too much. But I do know that
I know that
No.
one and the Multiverse of Madness are supposed to be like influential in
Yes.
setting up everything. Like,
Yeah.
well,
Phase 4
So-
related.
with WandaVision, if it's going to play out more like a sitcom, it brings a lot of questions as far as you just said the multiverse right now. So I'm wondering if that's going to be a stage in the multiverse, because of course
It looks like it.
yeah, because you think about the way the multiverse theory works, not even just in Marvel but just in general. Multiverse suggests that there's literally a universe where anything is possible, right? So there's multiple universes, hence
Where
the
Black Widow's still alive. Yeah.
where Black Widow's still alive. You're absolutely and
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what?
It
Okay,
could happen.
bringing that
Yeah,
shit
it
up,
could happen.
fine. You know, fine.
I'm just saying this opens the door. Tony Stark is still alive somewhere. I'm just saying.
Oh,
I'm just
Lord.
saying.
Yeah, but you know what? His contract won't let him come back. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, he's supposed. He's. They've already talked to him about bringing back. I think he was supposed to be the voice of something, or like just his
Probably
voice.
Iron Man, but I bet you he'd be like the new Jarvis.
Yeah,
I bet you'd be like the new Jarvis for the Iron Spider. If they ever look into expanding Peter Parker and giving him like the full-fledged Iron Spider suit like he had in Infinity War 2, I bet you he could be a voice in there, like, you know, saying like, all right, cool, let's cut the bullshit and do this or that. But he is never that serious anyway. Yeah, so that I think that WandaVision, if it's going to be more like a sitcom, like a funny '90s rom-com sitcom, it very well could fall into that. And if it's anything like Disney, but like Marvel, and I guess Disney in general, they're going to go from lightheartedness, and they're going to slowly start seeping it into drama. So that way you're going to start picking up, oh, wait a second. Okay, cool. This isn't just a lighthearted romp like, oh, Vision, I should have seen this coming. Get it? Vision, seen this coming? So, yeah. So,
I got it.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it.
It's a fucking rom-com deal with it, right?
Oh, I got it.
So they could go from that to being all of a sudden like, wait a second, where'd you go? And it's like, boom, it's all just the fucking multiverse, and it's crazy. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. You had actually brought up a really neat point, how this is being directed by Sam Raimi.
Yep.
And that brings in, I don't know how much we can actually really discuss this without smiling and laughing about it.
Multiverse.
It brings in the possibility.
They did it in Into the Spider-Verse. They brought back. Never mind.
I did see an article where apparently he had been asked about that, and he said no comment.
Exactly. Boom.
So he didn't say yes or no though. But
because Disney will like lock him down, and you have like Disney ninjas that will like jump out of the shadows to like kill him if
straight
he
up,
ever
right?
answer that question.
Fucking, and Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, and neither did Sam Raimi.
Okay.
So what's going to end up happening is well, for anyone who's listening at home who doesn't know exactly what has gotten us all hot and bothered, is the idea that if Sam Raimi, the original director of the original Spider-Man series well, not the original, but the rebooted Spider-Man series from the 90s and early 2000s, would come back, and because he is there, that Topher Grace, no, hell that.
Topher Grace?
Tobey Maguire.
Venom?
Dear Lord, no.
Please.
Oh, God.
Tobey Maguire.
Terrible Venom.
Tobey Maguire will come back to don the red cloth yet again to be Spider-Man. Now, for any of you youngsters out there doing Fortnite dances and talking about your diamond fucking collection in Minecraft, Tobey Maguire was one of the best one of the best Spider-Mans out there, only because of the fact that when his character bled so much teenage angst, and he looks like a teenager, but he was like fucking 30 when he did the movie, or close to his 30s. He looked young, but he's old. It's weird. He's fucking like Benjamin Button. But but like it was such a unique movie for that time frame, because arguably that's what put comic book movies on the map, was Spider-Man. Iron Man is what helped start the Marvel resurgence to the Marvel MCU, but Spider-Man made the idea of comic book movies making money, because X-Men had.
Well, if you can think about it, though, you can even go back to Blade, man, because Blade was technically Marvel.
It was technically Marvel, and it did open up with Marvel. But I promise you this: you're not going to find a single person who says I collect Blade comics, and not because Blade's a bad comic series, but because of the fact that Blade in the movies, he was super underrepresented and they didn't have a good ad campaign to back him up as being a comic book. Whereas
No,
Spider-Man, first of all, we live in Texas. Well, I'm not going to go there. Anyway, everyone loves Spider-Man. All right, that's all I'm going to say is everyone loves Spider-Man. So I cannot tell you how many times I see piñatas of Spider-Man. I don't see Blade piñatas. I don't see Captain America piñatas. It's always Spider-Man piñatas, right? So the fact of the matter is he's popular around these parts. Okay. So with that being said, Blade didn't get that same representation. So I think if he were to come back, we would see them really push the comic book.
Well, Blade is coming back.
Well, he is coming back. I get that part, especially.
Yes, that shitty Spite series that happened. Did y'all ever see that?
No,
I did not. But he was that same actor. I can't think of his name right now. But was Cottonmouth in Luke Cage, and is it Cottonmouth? I think his name is. He was the main villain in Luke Cage in season 1.
That was some. I forgot the actor's name. Yeah.
Same guy, and he did an awesome job in it.
Yeah.
Well,
no, because I saw that Blade series and I was really disappointed because I was like, this is not Wesley Snipes #1. He's fucking bald and it was weird and I didn't understand because I was just so used to Blade. Like, it just didn't work for me.
I don't know Wesley Snipes' whole situation with the IRS right now, and I don't know if he can necessarily afford to be on a screen where they know where he's at. Right. So there's that.
No, it's fair. The new actor though, what's his name though? For the new Blade.
Give me a second.
Because I like his acting and I think he fits the part. Like he looks intimidating as fuck, #1, and I can imagine him in the Blade get up, and I'm like that works. Since we're on that, I can't think of his name.
Mahershala Ali.
There you go. That dude's a talented
he's a
actor.
really good actor.
So first of all, the first movie I ever saw him in was I saw him in Luke Cage. And then the first movie actually I believe that I saw him in, I may have seen some other places, but I saw him in the Green Book. The Green Book is fucking fantastic. So like it shows his acting. The guy's a great actor. So I would be interested to see him in an action role like this, because as Cottonmouth, he was already still kind of borderline action, but he wasn't like get my hands dirty action. He was like snap my fingers and make my bad guys do my action for me. So we'll see how that works. But I mean, the mock-up they have of him, he looks like he'd be Blade. That's all I'm gonna say. So
it sucks because a lot of those movies aren't coming out till like that one and Captain Marvel and Guardians of the Galaxy. They're all pushed to like 2022 and 2023, and it sucks we have to wait that long. But
yeah. Blade's definitely Phase 5. So
yeah, it's Phase 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just a few more to go through. We have the Loki movie in spring 2021. I'm sorry, that's a TV show, Loki.
TV show, yeah.
So that's gonna be pretty neat. I really feel like same thing. Loki's not dead. I get that a mad.
No, he's definitely not dead.
He's not dead. He's a fucking god of. He's in Asgard.
Well, no.
So how is that even an issue? So Loki took that.
Remember that was an alternate reality. So this is an alternate universe.
Yeah.
Because the original one died, or the one we know died.
So then one could also argue then too. Then the multiverse of madness could set up everything else after this to be completely different then. Which is actually because I really don't know too much of what Loki could be about unless they talk about his life on Asgard growing up. They could talk about some of the hunts that go on.
They're talking about.
I'm pretty sure it's about the whole like how he went into like he grabbed the Infinity like one of the stones.
The Tesseract, right?
Yeah, Tesseract. Excuse me. Yeah, he took the Tesseract. I'm pretty sure that's what the show is about.
I was watching some videos and apparently he's if you look at like his outfit like in the teaser or the trailer or whatever, it shows he's in trouble with like the Time Authority or whatever. So that's going to be part of the story. Yeah, because he's technically meddling with time at that point. Also, an actor, what's his name's going to be in that? Owen Wilson is going to be in that series.
What?
As a time cop.
Wow. Yeah, if I'm make sure I got that right for nerds all over the world.
Yeah, news to me.
It's Luke Wilson. They look the same, but without broken noses. I don't know how much. I mean, okay, so like it's going to be the same actor, right?
Yeah, Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah. There you go. So,
oh yeah, sorry, real quick before you go on, Owen Wilson signed on to play a major character in the show. Wilson will be portraying Justin Peace, a time-hopping mercenary who was hired by the Time Variance Authority to become the leader of their temporal law enforcement department.
I can see this. I can see this.
Yeah, so Owen Wilson's gonna be in there. They already showed. They actually showed a still. Yeah, I remember.
I don't know how that's gonna work. The way he always does his face, though. Where do you think you're going? Right. That's a shitty impression. That's fine though. So Loki, we'll get more information on that soon because that seems like it'd be either a interesting show or one of those shows that I'll probably skip on. I'm not. We'll see. What If? This is a show that I will be watching for sure. What If? And I just mentioned this before, how the Multiverse of Madness is setting up everything to be a complete wild card. What If brings up really interesting storylines and says, what if this is what happened? So, for example, and I don't know what they used here. Where do they show that here? Fuck. Yeah, they don't actually give any more details on that. Okay. Oh, a non-canon animated series that presents alternate takes on existing MCU, like what if Loki had found the hammer of Thor? So,
yeah, they already said it's not canon. It's just a fun little.
I'm totally okay with that, right?
Yeah.
We all want to know, like, what if? I mean, it's also MCU. I wonder who they're gonna bleed into that. But technically, the MCU at that point still could include people like Spider-Man. Right, obviously. I'm wondering if it's going to include anything like the X-Men, because I know they're going to be written into Phase 5, I believe, but I don't know how that's going to work. That's all speculation because no one knows necessarily what Phase 5 is.
Well, I think these movies are going to set up for it too. There was also it was a theory that because of the whole they mentioned in the movie too, after Thanos did his snap or whatever, there was a huge amount of like radiation involved with that. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the theories on that's how they were going to bring in the quote unquote mutants.
Oh, so they were affected by radiation and created by Thanos. Dude, Thanos is like a big fucking bang, dude. That's what he is. Yeah, and it was there was also way back in Iron Man when Nick Fury first met Iron Man. There was a deleted scene or tape. I watch a lot of these breakdown videos on YouTube. There's a channel I watch specifically called New Rock Stars, and they're going through a whole rewatch of the Infinity Saga to like break down Easter eggs and stuff that set up future movies. Mm-hmm. But there was one where it was a deleted scene, and it was a reworking of a shot that Nick Fury told Iron Man, and he mentioned, "You're not the only special one." It went along the lines of, "You're not the only one special in this universe. There's a guy who dresses like a spider or whatever. There's mutants. There's so on. There's a green guy." And they were already kind of setting up X-Men way back in the first Iron Man movie. Mm-hmm. But Kevin Feige get it. Yeah, but Kevin Feige pulled that obviously because they didn't have the rights at that time. Mm-hmm. But I guess that was a cool theory I thought of, was that the snap from Thanos could have brought them in. I thought that was really cool. So that's actually a really neat idea, the way to think of it. I'm really hoping they kind of follow that perspective, because that'd be so interesting to think of. Everyone has to think they're creation from fucking Thanos. That is, unless they like themselves being mutants. If they don't, like fucking Jubilee had a problem with it. Fucking put her Rogue had a problem with it. Put her fucking entire team in danger and got fucking Wolverine shot in the head with a gun. Of course, he survived it, but still, they didn't have to get that gunshot, and that cop didn't have to look at that guy. You know, he went home and he drank a lot and probably beat his wife because the shit he saw that day. It's a sad reality. Cops go deal with a lot of shit. Anyway, so Hawkeye. Hawkeye is going to be a Disney Plus TV show. This is either going to be Hawkeye himself, or this is going to follow Ronin. I feel like it's going to be looking at Ronin more, because first of all, there was a positive reaction to Ronin. A lot of the comic book lore aficionados, a lot of people who read the original Infinity War comics, anyone who knows anything about Hawkeye knows that during the snap, he becomes Ronin because he lost his family. He's like, I'm going to go and find the person responsible for this shit. And then lo and behold, hey, it's a guy who we accidentally killed, so we got to bring him back to life from a different universe in order to do all this shit. So yeah. That's going to be interesting. Ronin, it's going to be a tough sell, honestly, I think, though, for Marvel on the Marvel Network, on the Disney Plus. Might as well call it Marvel Network at this point. On Disney Plus, because of the fact that Ronin himself is, I believe, a pretty violent character. Carries around a sword and kills people with it. So, I mean, is it going to be a TV 14? It's going to be a TV.
The only thing is I know they're bringing his family into it, because they did sign an actress to play an older version of his daughter. So I
Yeah.
know the family's into it.
And they already teased it too in the end of Endgame or whatever. They showed, or at the beginning of Endgame, they showed him training his daughter out in the field or whatever before she got snapped away. Unfortunately, that was a sad. That was a
that's
sad
right.
scene.
Definitely a sad scene.
Yeah, I cried.
I remember watching that in the theater, and
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus, it's already punched me in the gut. Like, it
Yeah.
literally within 2 minutes,
I'm
like,
already
punched me in the
crying.
gut again.
Where's my daughter?
Yeah, that was sad.
It's like fucking Mystic River. It's not my. Where's my daughter? Anyway, it's a sad fucking movie. So the last one, I'm really excited about this one. I know that a lot of people have had a difference of opinion on it. Most of those people are incels. But Thor: Love and Thunder. So Thor: Love and Thunder is going.
I
to
loved
be one thing-
Ragnarok, by the way.
So I
Ragnarok-
honestly, I'll tell you this: the very first time I watched it, I wasn't a fan of it, and then I watched it again and felt
Korg's the only reason you ever had to watch that goddamn movie.
like it didn't.
New bastards.
Man, I forgot which movie I watched just before that. So I really love Black Panther. So like when
Black
I think I
Panther
watched
was a very
Black
good movie.
Panther, and then I watched Thor, and I was like, man, this doesn't. At that point, I was like, this isn't up to par as like Black Panther, because I really love Killmonger as a villain.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so I watched Thor, and I was like, okay, it's a good movie. It wasn't all that great. And then I watched it again, and I just fell in love like with all the parts and how they really redeem Thor as like a character.
Yeah.
I just rewatched the original Thor, and I was like, man, he's so dry compared.
Yeah, it was stale.
like,
It was stale.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was, and that's the thing about the MCU. The way the direction it's going is, Thor Ragnarok was a great example of what they could do with just a little bit of flavor. It was so much fun.
Mhm.
Well, I think Chris Hemsworth had even pushed for that himself. Like he wanted a more, I guess, vibrant or accurate depiction of Thor, and he
Mhm.
got that. And I love Thor Ragnarok, and I thought it was a very good movie. I thought it was one of my favorite Marvel movies up to that point.
Mhm.
So
I thought for sure.
the one thing about Love and Thunder that has got everybody just a little upset, and it doesn't show me here, so we'll just go ahead and talk about it now, because based on what I remember about it. Love and Thunder is gonna be the fucking Jane Foster Thor.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah.
Natalie Portman's back.
Natalie Portman's back.
She said she's never going to come back, and then lo and behold, there she
Because
is.
she sniffed that money, man, and she was like,
Mhm.
"This is actually a big deal."
That Marvel money.
Yeah.
So, I feel like having Jane Foster's Thor is such a great move. Not because, and I don't want to sit there and say it's because of the fact that women need more representation in the Marvel films, because I think they're doing a great job of bringing that up. But the reason why this needs to happen is because, first of all, I'm not a huge Thor fan. I didn't read all those comic books, but again, if you guys haven't checked it out, the Marvel Unlimited gives you the ability to go read all those comic books. We are not sponsored by them in any capacity, by the way. So if you get a chance, you can check that app out. It allows you to read those comics. And I read some of the Jane Foster comics, and they're pretty funny. In fact, the one that got me to read them was actually what's her face, Gwenpool. Gwenpool has nothing to do with Gwen Stacy, has nothing to do with Deadpool, but she was a comic book fan who got sucked to a comic book and called herself Gwenpool. Don't know why. Anyway, she actually met up with Jane Foster's Thor, and she's like, "Oh my God, it's Jane Foster's Thor," and it was just a funny interaction. So, I would also be lying if I said that because so many people online are so butthurt at the thought of having Natalie Portman play the next Thor. In fact, Thor himself will be in the movie. But
Yeah, he's
they're
gonna be there.
mad. They're mad that someone else is going to share screen time.
I'm gonna give her a chance. I want to give her a
100%.
chance.
Yeah, same.
I'm gonna give her, dude, like so much of a chance, because Natalie Portman is funny. She can be funny, but also the direction they're going with this, I just feel like it's gonna go really well. Having Jane Foster's Thor and regular Thor come together, and like, hey, are we supposed to be together? I don't know. Well, it's gonna be really neat. This also could show the point where they're going to finally move on from Chris Hemsworth Thor and give a different Thor the limelight. Chris Hemsworth doesn't age, though, so who knows? other than that, though, it's the other actors in the movie. Of course, Chris Hemsworth as Thor. Mark Ruffalo is coming back as Hulk. Natalie Portman as Jane Foster.
Mark Ruffalo's going to be in it?
Yep.
Oh, very cool. Man, I wanted him to get his own movie so bad. He's been shafted. I think Mark Ruffalo deserves his own Hulk movie. I really do.
I think that with this movie, they're also bringing in some of the Guardians of the Galaxy, because on the ticket we also have Dave Bautista nice. as labeled as someone there. So I don't know if it's gonna be the full Guardians, but I bet you we see Rocket Raccoon pop up because they had a pretty good back and forth. I bet you see all of them pop up at some point. Christian Bale is gonna be there.
He's supposed to be a villain. I think he's supposed to be a villain.
Okay, I think I did hear about that.
Play Batman. No, Batman. Jeff Goldblum is coming back, so there's gonna be a lot of really.
Jeff Goldblum's character was a fucking trip,
dude, beyond a trip. It was that Korg better be there. If Korg's not there, I want my money back. But there's a lot of great things that are happening in the Marvel universe over the next year, and then after the next 2 years, it's ending in 2021. Then we get Phase 5 going, and we start looking into the X-Men series, and it's going to be such a wild ride. I just really hope that the coronavirus isn't the apocalypse, because goddamn it, I'm about to buy a house too. So it's like, you can't do this to me.
Well, at least you'll have a house.
At least I have a house to to fend off the hordes of zombies and mutants that will come knocking down my door.
Speaking of that, did y'all see? I know it's totally off topic. I think I put it in the work chat we have. Did y'all see that one statistic from Finland? It was that one -1.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, zombies! It's happening.
It's gonna happen.
It's happening.
It's like they were being honest. Like, yeah, we actually called him dead, and then he turns out he wasn't dead.
Yeah.
So, either way, gentlemen, I appreciate you joining me.
Sir.
Hey, so Katabolic, tell us one more time, what is your Twitch handle on Twitch?
So my Twitch handle is twitch.tv/Katabolic Mix. That's KATABOLIC MIX. And you can also follow me on Twitter at It's Katabolic, or you can follow me on Instagram at Katabolic.
Fantastic. We're going to have those links in the description. So make sure you go check out Katabolic's Twitch channel. Go check out his Instagram and his Twitter page. Make sure you follow and like and show him some love because his next show is going to be pretty fantastic. And then also for us, if this is your first time listening to us, make sure you go onto the YouTube page. Make sure you hit that subscribe and hit that little bell icon so you can know whenever we're going to go, whenever we're uploading some fresh content for you. And then lastly, follow the links to our Facebook and our Twitter page. That way you can come and show us some textual love, some textual healing. And then we will be back again next week. So thank you again. My name is Justin. Thank you, Raul. Thank you, Katabolic, for joining me again. And you guys have a great rest of your night.
Thanks, guys.
The game goes on.